welcome to a new episode of Josh's Car Corner. Today you find me in Indio, California. I'm out here this weekend visiting family, and they're off doing their own things today, and I was told by my friend Nick that there were some cool driving roads I need to check out when I'm out here. And one of the roads he suggested is the Palm to Pines Highway. It runs basically from Palm Springs, actually west of Palm Springs, and then it runs all the way up through the mountains, and then it comes all the way back to Indio. I'm actually doing it the reverse direction. I'm going from Indio back to Palm Springs, and I'm just going to do that for the day. But as long as I was out here, I thought I'd do an update video, because the last time you saw Josh's Car Corner, I was talking about the Lemons car, and I didn't really talk too much about the GTO. In fact, it was only on camera in a stationary position. And actually, a lot of things have happened with the GTO since I've gotten out here. So to start with the bad, back in September or October, I can't remember, I was at a Best Buy returning something, and it was raining and backing up, and there was one of those big quad cab 1-ton Ford F-350 pickups with the 8-foot bed and the dualies that sticks a foot out of whatever parking spot you put it in. And I was backing out of a spot, didn't see it, and I backed into him, and I broke my right rear tail light, dented the quarter panel on the corner a little bit, and that had to get fixed. And that ended up costing me a $1,000 deductible, about $3,800 in damage. But what we actually found out is the shop that was doing the repairs found out that when the car was rear-ended back in 2011, the shop that did the work did not fix it properly. I remarked about this. I noticed this back in 2013 one weekend. Joe and I were going to go drag racing, and I noticed that there's supposed to be pins under the trunk lid that hold the plastic bumper cover to the car, and they were missing. And then there was a gap there I could see in there that the crash bumper was still pushed in. So I went back the very next weekend and wrote them the riot act for that, and they said, okay, well, we'll fix it properly this time. And when they gave it back to me, those pins were there, the bumper was sitting properly, but the trunk never closed quite right. It never closed. It would close, but it wouldn't close flush to the body lines, and there's a body line on the top of the trunk that's supposed to match up to the top of the taillights, and it's all supposed to be flush, and it was never quite right. It always sat just a little bit higher. Well, these guys that fixed it out here in Arizona got into it and discovered that the pan of the body for the trunk where the spare tire is was all still pushed up and in, and they could even demonstrate to me where it was crumpled in about 1/4 of an inch still. So that was never fixed properly. So while they were in there, they straightened all that out, fixed that. Now the trunk sits flush. The quarter panels look right now. They repainted basically everything of the back of the car up to the doors, and it looks so much better now. I got one of the taillight I broke replaced. But the one thing I do have to say is, if you're in Wautoma, Wisconsin, and you need a body shop to do your work, don't go to Collision Clinic, because they're the ones who fixed this thing 4 years ago, and they clearly didn't fix it right. And I told them over and over that this car means a lot to me, it's important, it needs to be fixed properly. They had it twice, they didn't fix it properly. So the guys at Collision Clinic, go to hell. You don't do a good job. So anyway, down to the good. Some things have been upgraded since I have been out here. One of the big things is that I was getting tired of my differential clunking. There was a lot of slop in it, and it would translate all the way up through that single piece aluminum drive shaft I got. So every time I changed gear, it would just clunk, 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 clunk. Oh, it was so annoying. So I decided I was finally going to get the rear end rebuilt. I even got a spare set of 373 gears used, just in case I needed them. Well, they get in there, and turns out that the True Track differential that I bought used, it's got 2 sections that hold the case together, 6 bolts on each side. And what had happened is, Ferrari 458, and what had happened is that on one of the sides, there's 6 bolts holding each side of the whole housing together. 5 of the bolts on one side had come out, and they were rolling around in the case. One of them went through the gears. It didn't appear to damage the gears, but anytime anything goes through the gears other than differential fluid, that's not a good thing. So they got me a new True Track diff and put those 373 gears in, and that has dramatically increased the acceleration of the car, because now I have basically an additional 8% gear reduction over the factory 346 gears. And I had to recalibrate the speedometer because it was all kinds of off after that. And now this thing pulls so hard, I can easily leave a stoplight in second gear. And a lot of times I do when I'm eco driving, I just start in second gear because it can just do it. I've lowered my top speed considerably, one because the gear ratios are different, and two because now my single piece drive shaft is turning so much faster to go the same speed. Now it's starting to vibrate and wobble at lower speeds, and now about 120, anything over 120, it's just going crazy. So I am going to have to replace it with a heavy duty two-piece drive shaft, because if I keep trying to push it over those high speeds, one of these days it's just going to start jump roping so bad it's probably just going to shatter, and that's going to be a disaster if that happens. So I'm going to have to get that drive shaft replaced. Other things that have happened, I got my hands on LS3 MAF setup. The custom setup, Spectre Performance makes this LS3 MAF housing, and then you can put the LS3 card style MAF in it, and it's a much bigger housing, allows for a lot more airflow, and the MAF itself reacts a lot faster than the factory LS2 MAF. Haven't got that in yet, and it was complicated because with the VARIM intake you've only got so much space, and the housing's about that long, and I needed it to be about that long. So I had to have somebody custom shorten it and then put in a right angle nipple fitting so I could hook up my line for the vacuum for the crankcase vent. And I'm going to get that in pretty soon, because in March I'm going to be doing something called No Fly Zone. It's half-mile drag racing on an airport runway, which is fantastic. I was supposed to do it in December, but with the differential fiasco I couldn't do it. But it's basically rolling start, so you get up to about 30 miles an hour, and you are racing against somebody else when you do it. And I really want to do it because I have high hopes that this thing could get up to about 150 miles an hour in the half mile now. With the power and the acceleration, I think it would do very, very well. Another thing that's been updated is this car now has a flex fuel alcohol sensor. I installed that. We bought some Earl's line and fuel line and fittings. It's actually sitting behind the driver's side strut tower brace, and it's pinned into the ECU, and the ECU actually can take information from the sensor and use it. And there's all kinds of extra tables in the ECU, so you can adjust the timing based on alcohol content. So when it detects more alcohol in the fuel, it bumps the timing up, and it can also bump the advance up and make a heck of a lot more power. You lose mileage, and in fact I found out that running E85 in cold weather is just terrible. It basically turns one of these into a truck. It was getting about 12 miles per gallon, pretty bad. But when it's hot out, oh, then it's going to be a blessing, because the engine gets so hot when it's 100 degrees sitting in the weather like that. It's just horrible. So it's going to be nice that I can now put ethanol in it, which is actually a bit cheaper than even 87 octane fuel. So that'll be nice. Also in March, the last week of March, I'm going to be going and doing Hot Rod Drag Weekend. It's going to be this year in Phoenix at Wild Horse Pass Raceway, and then it's going to go to Tucson Dragway and do that. And then the next day it's going to come back and do Wild Horse again. So I'm going to do that weekend. I thought I'd be done drag racing. I actually even sold my drag radials, because I did go drag racing at Wild Horse back in October and had such a bad experience. The wheel hop was just terrible. I couldn't even do a burnout, and I never got a clean pass the whole night, and I was just so frustrated. I said, you know what, I'm done beating up the car, I'm done drag racing. So I sold the radials. Well, now I got lucky and got my hands on a set of the G-Force Level 2 anti-wheel hop CV axles for $500. I mean, they're typically they're $1,000 new. You're lucky to find them for $700 or $800 used. I got them for $500. There was a guy who down by Tucson, sadly, his car got rear-ended, insurance wasn't going to pay to fix it, wrote it off, and he sold me his half shafts. I might still get some other parts from him, but I've got those, and those are going to go in pretty soon, and that should finally, hopefully, fix the wheel hop. Along with, I've had these poly bushings for the rear control arms that I've wanted to put in forever and ever. I've had them for almost 3 years, and I'm going to put those in at the same time, and hopefully the combination of those two together will finally cure the dreaded wheel hop that probably destroyed my first differential. In fact, the stub axles were so bad. I mean, once you start putting big power into a GTO rear end, all the stub axles twist, but I had one that was twisted so bad, I can't believe it didn't snap. It was 30 degrees probably twisted. It was so bad. The next episode of Josh's Car Corner will be another update to the whole Lemons project, so I'm not going to talk about that too much today. Today's about having fun. Today's about going out and checking out this awesome driving road and seeing what it's all about and having a good time. So I just turned on to Highway 74. This is the start of the road going the wrong direction, and this is going to take me up into the mountains, and the journey is going to get started here very quickly. So I'm going to turn off the indoor camera and we'll get the camera set up and start filming this road and see how good it actually is. I am just out here right now in the middle of the San Jacinto mountain range, and this is my view. There's hardly any cars around either. All along this road I've been seeing signs that say icy, so I guess there must be times when it gets pretty cold up here. Oh, this is something new on the GTO, by the way. Right there. So when they redid the back end, they took the G8 Pontiac thing off and didn't put it back on. So I wanted to put something there, and I figured since I got an alcohol sensor, we'll do a flex fuel patch. And also, that used to be a much brighter silver and it was white and flaking off, so I got those new stickers. They're a darker silver. I think they look better. but they don't look as good as that. Okay, so I have found another amazing spot. This is Hemet Lake. This was on Highway 74. Very, very cool. Got some awesome pictures with the car. Yeah, it's beautiful. Looks like you can rent canoes. They were very nice to let me in here for just a few minutes to come back here and take some pictures and film, but I can't stay. So, but it was very cool that I got to check this out. God, now I'm at 6,200 feet. Man, we're climbing fast. No, you don't get to do that, buddy. You don't get to do that. I wonder when you'd have to come up here to get the best road with the least traffic. It's right at sunrise, right at sunset. Right at sunrise, but then you're gonna annoy everybody, or at least I would, with my exhaust bouncing off the mountain walls. I like to have fun, but I don't like to annoy people. Oh, he was generous. That's excellent. An old turbo diesel. Oh man, that was an old turbo diesel Land Cruiser. Those are cool. Oh, here we go. Let's go catch that flanker. This is a vista point on Highway 243 looking down into the valley. Now, first off, it's covered in mist, which is incredible. Second of all, way out there, that, Nick told me, is the Salton Sea. That's the sea I stopped at 2.5 years ago on my road trip. And now I'm seeing it from way the heck up here. That is cool. There is actually snow on the sides of the road up here, and I always said the GTO would never see snow, and I was just parked next to it. This right here, I think, is going to be the final update of the day, because I'm almost at the end of the road, and if you look down in the valley way down there, that's Interstate 10, and that's what I'm going to be taking back to Indio, and you can see so far out from here. It's crazy. I just see the traffic going down there. And when there aren't cars on the road, you can't hear a thing. So there it is, way down there, moving along. And then way out here to the east is the massive wind farm that everybody knows about. That's the wind farm I drove by 2.5 years ago. So it's gonna be cool to see that again. That's gonna do it for this episode. I hope you had fun going on this little road trip with me, and the next episode you will see will be more updates on the Lemons car. So once again, thanks for watching Josh's Car Corner, and we'll see you next time. It wouldn't be a California road trip without the dinosaur now, would it?